Hi there, Jeanne Cregan with this week's video message. We recently had an adult faith formation opportunity here at Holy Family where we talked about the legacy of Pope Francis. We looked at his writings, teachings, homily, and messages, and the various ways he had instructed us over his time as Pope, and talked about what might be the legacy or the mark that Pope Francis leaves on the Church. Overwhelmingly, the group that gathered here felt that Pope Francis had given us a new understanding that all are welcome in the Church. Many felt that hadn't been the case in the past. Pope Francis, when he spoke at World Youth Day several years ago in Lisbon, coined a new phrase that he became popular for saying called totus, totus, totus. Everyone, everyone, everyone. Everyone is welcome. In that same address, he went on to insist that in the Church, no one is left out or left over, that there is room for everyone just the way they are. Everyone. Jesus says this clearly in the scriptures. When Pope Francis gave this message, it was one of radical love and acceptance, and has been described as one of the clearest moments in his pontificate, calling all of us Catholics to remember who we are and what it means to be Church. It was clear from the adults gathered here at Holy Family that they had heard the message loud and clear, and many of them expressed gratitude for Pope Francis's courage to speak about the Church in a new way. The question has remained for me, though, as to how do we do this in our own sphere of influence? How do we carry on Pope Francis's legacy? I was surprised to find some wisdom on a podcast I listened to this week where Whoopi Goldberg was interviewed. Aside from being a fan of the movie Sister Act, I didn't honestly know much about her. But in a discussion with Father James Martin, the podcast is linked below in the description, Whoopi shared that on her journey of faith, she realized that the true test of faith wasn't for people outside the Church, or those in conflict with the Church, or those that think differently to pass some sort of test. The test is for us on the inside, for those of us in the Church. How do we treat people? How do we stand up for people who don't stand up or can't stand up for themselves? What do we do? It's a call to action. And she said when she came to this conclusion, it helped her feel differently about the Church and helped her feel better about being in the Church. She went on to say that the onus is on each of us to reach out to the people on the margins. And I was struck by the commonality between this discussion by an actress I didn't even know was Catholic, and her comments fell perfectly in line with the message of Pope Francis. I may have simplified her comments a little bit for this discussion, but I was a bit challenged for myself to see how I could personally carry on this inclusivity that Pope Francis preached. I don't think being a welcoming community means simply having greeters at the door, as wonderful as that ministry is here at Holy Family. I think it means that we accept the challenge to welcome others in, to stand with those who have felt unwelcome, to not neglect hospitality to strangers, for by this some have entertained angels without knowing it. It's written in the book of Hebrews. That was a quote from the book of Hebrews. Maybe in this season of summer, the challenge for us is to find someone who feels unwelcome and welcome them into our community and remind them that totus, totus, totus.